I get accused all the time of saying, this is a good time to buy, 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 despite what's going on in the economy. Now, I do feel that real estate's a really good investment, so maybe I do say that more often than you would like to hear me say it. But this video, I'm actually going to say there are times where it's a bad time to buy a house. We're going to go over 5 reasons why right now is not a good time to buy a house. This one's not necessarily focused around this time of where we're recording it in the summer of 2023. This is just where you might be in your walk, okay? Because a lot of these reasons and a lot of the reasons why you would want to buy or not buy are all personal, okay? Despite the fact that as a realtor and I see the value of real estate, and I see the value going up. Sometimes it goes way up. Sometimes it goes up a little bit. There's a lot of intangibles. There's a lot of things going on. So I think as a whole, is real estate a smart investment? 100%. That being said, there are moments where it's a really, really bad idea to buy. And I'll be completely honest with you. So you can sit back, watch the video. Let me know if any of these apply to you. Let me know what I've missed. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why this is not a good time to buy a house for you. But at the end, we are going to talk about why I think that right now is a good time in the whole. Sound good? Let's rock and roll. Here we go. The main reason why right now might not be a good time to buy a house, interest rates. They're a lot higher than they were, let's say, 18 months ago. 18 months ago, we're on the tail end of the pandemic market. Interest rates are holding in the 3s. Which made things a lot more affordable. Right now, they're in the upper 6s to low 7s as we record this in the summer of 23. Yes, historically, we've had times where interest rates were much higher. But we're not living historically, we're living in the now. And right now, interest rates stink if you were shopping back when they were down in the 3s. If you never found the house and now you're looking and they're in the 6 to 7 range, it's a completely different ballgame. Especially when you factor in that all home prices have gone up dramatically in that time frame. So what does that mean? It means that right now it may make sense for you to wait. We keep telling people, and I keep telling people, that it might make more sense to buy now, find something that you can afford, buy now, and then when the rates go down, you refinance. Okay? And to me, I still think that does make sense. The problem that you might have is, and I completely understand this, the problem that you might have is when you go and get a payment, let's say your payment is, let's just say $2,500 a month. Let's just say that, okay? And once the rates go down, you can refi and bring it down to whatever that would be. I can't do the math off the top of my head. Let's just say, for argument's sake, $2,000 a month. That's better. The 2 problems you obviously have are, number 1, you don't know when the rates are going to go down. I'd like to think they're going to be going down sometime in the next year, but there's no guarantees. I would have thought they were way down by now. They're not, so things happen, number 1. Number 2, you don't know how far they're going to go down. They may not get down in the upper 4s, like we were all hoping at the beginning part of the year. They may not get much further than the mid to upper 5s, if they get there in the next year to 2 years. So there's no guarantee on when they're going to go down. There's no guarantee on where they're going. So whatever price you get, you shouldn't get a monthly payment that is, this is going to stink for the next couple of years, but it's going to get better once we refinance. There's the outside chance that you may not be able to refinance and get what you want. So whatever it is that you're going to buy at, you have to stomach that monthly payment, okay? And right now, with the rates where they are and the prices where they are, it may not make sense for you. And if that's the case, right now is not a good time to buy. Maybe when the rates go down, the monthly payment's a little bit more affordable, and then you can make a move on something, then it might be a better time to buy. But right now, because of the rates, it may not be a good time to buy. Another reason why this may not be a good time to buy a house is you don't have enough money to put down on the house. Okay, you don't know when you're going to sell that house. Something might happen. I've had in the last couple of years, I've had a couple of situations where I had somebody who bought a house and turned around like a year later and sold it. I had one person buy a house in 21. Turned around and sold it in 22, basically 1 year later, because they wanted to go back home to the state they came from, North Carolina, okay? And in that 1 year, the house that they bought for $330 sold it the next year, in 1 year, for $450 in Swanee, okay? $120,000 in 1 year, okay? Worked out good for them. Another person who bought at the peak last year at $590-ish, and they sold it basically just under that $590 during the valley earlier this year, like around April-ish, like March, April-ish. It was a better market, but still not nearly what it was this time last year, okay? So you just don't know what's going to happen from year to year. The reality is that year where my seller, they went from $330 to $450, that is the way outlier, okay? That's not going to happen. real estate is a good investment, but it is not a good short-term investment. It's not a good investment you want to turn around and sell in 6 months or 12 months because there are costs associated with selling your house. Okay, so that being said, if you do have to do that though, you want to have a cushion. Okay, so putting more money down means you're going to have more equity in the house when you move into it. So that way if something crazy does happen, you have to sell, you have that. Number one. Number two, you want to bring that price down, or the monthly payment down. The more you put down, the less you have to finance, the less the monthly payment is. And also, if you can get it down enough, you put 20% down, you get to avoid PMI, the private mortgage insurance. So 80% down is really the spot that you want to be at. But I mean, if you have to put 5% down, you have to put 5% down. But the problem is if you don't have the money to put down, it may not make sense to get into a house. I don't want you getting some kind of crazy 0% loan or a 1% loan, 5% at least. But I really want you to have a little bit more than that because you just don't know what's going to happen in the next year, okay? And financially speaking, it's a smarter play. Now, that being said, if 5% is what you got and you want to rock and roll and find a house, it might make sense for you. But if you don't have enough money to put down, that could be a good reason why right now is not a good time to buy. All right, if you buy a house, it's a lot of financial strain, okay? Because the house is not just a mortgage. You got stuff to fix around the house. Murphy's Law is always working 24/7. So if you buy a house with very little money in the savings account and very little money down and you leverage yourself a bunch, you're going to move into that house and the AC is going to go the first day and the refrigerator is going to go the second day. Things happen, okay? Real estate, over the long term, is a wonderful investment, okay? If you're going to live there anyway, you move in there, you let equity do its thing. Over the years, you get to a point where the equity outpaces what you put into it and you make more money than you actually put into it to live there, okay? It takes a little time, but it happens, okay? That being said, it does cost some money to get in there. In the short term, if you're in a position where you don't have the money and you don't have the financial backing to really move into a house and take care of stuff, it may make sense to rent for one more year, okay? Long term, owning is better than renting, long term. But there are moments in all of our lives, we've been there too, moments in all of our lives where renting makes a little bit more sense than buying, okay? So don't be afraid of that. If a financial strain is going to be too much if you buy the house, don't buy the house, okay? Get yourself in a financial position. I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan as far as when it comes to getting out of debt, things like that. So follow his plan to get out of debt, the 7 baby steps, and the debt snowball, things like that. Get yourself in a financial spot to buy a house because I want you to get on the equity treadmill. And I want you to start building some equity like yesterday, okay? If it doesn't make sense today, it doesn't make sense today. Let's make it make sense tomorrow, okay? So it's a financial strain. If you can't weather that financial strain, don't buy a house right now. If you buy a house right now and you have plans to make a move sometime in the next 6 to 12 months, that may not make sense for reasons we just talked about, okay? It's a long-term investment. If you're going to be in your house for 3 to 4 years at least, and you know you're going to be moving, but in 3 years, it might make sense for you to buy right now. But if you are, let's say, thinking about a job in Dallas, let's just say, and you might take it, you might not, you might take it, you might not. Now's not a good time to buy a house. You don't want to drop roots somewhere where you may have to move in 3 months. That's going to be hard. You're going to lose money on that deal. So there might be those situations. If you know you're not moving in the next 3 years, if you know you're going to drop roots somewhere, make the move. Grab that house and let's go. But if you are planning on being a little more fluid, and that's what we see a lot with some of the younger generations that we're seeing right now. They like the fact that they can rent, they can move around a little bit, have a little bit more portability, go from city to city, see the world, things like that. That's kind of their jam, okay? And that's their jam. If that's their jam, it doesn't make sense for them to buy a house. Okay, now they do miss out on, by living that style, they do miss out on building up of equity and, having the house and owning it and having the tax advantages from that and having all those other things, they do miss out on that. But if portability is an important thing and they're going to do that, it doesn't make sense for them to buy a house. So keep that in mind. If you are going to move or you might move or whatever, take a moment to pause. This might not be the best time to buy. Is your situation changing? Okay. Are you adding children? Are you having children graduate, move out? Are you getting married? Do you have an older relative who's getting ready to move back in? There's all kinds of things family-wise that could be happening right now, and it's going to kind of get the dust all kicked up. I always like to say, let the dust settle. Let's see where we are. Then let's figure out what makes the most sense for you. Because let's say you want to buy a 3-bedroom house, and you start the process of looking at a 3-bedroom house so that you and your 2 kids and your spouse can go move into the house, husband or wife can move into the house, and your 3-bedroom house is going to be great, and you find out, holy cow, the wife is pregnant with twins. The wife's pregnant with twins, things just changed, okay? So let's not buy the 3-bedroom house and see how it all plays out. Let's say stop, figure out what our options are, readjust, and then make the move, okay? So if things change, if those things change, this is not a good time to buy. Sometimes it's a good time to stop. Let the dust settle. Give it 2 or 3 months. See what's going to happen. If you find you're going to have twins, let the dust settle. Boy, if we ever I got 6 kids with number 7 on the way right now. Never had twins. If we ever found out we had twins, you have to pick me up off the floor. But that being said, if you find that out, things change. You got to figure out, what are we going to do next? What's the next house really going to look like now? Because things are going to change. So keep that in mind. Okay, situations change. Parents move in. Kids move out because they graduate. Things like that. If changes are happening, pause. Let the changes happen. Let the dust settle. Then it might be time to jump back in and buy. So there are 5 reasons why it may not be a good time to buy right now. Okay, and a lot of those, some of them are based on what's going on right now in the market with interest rates. Some of them are based on what's going on in your personal life, which could be something that happens this summer, fall, winter, whatever. All that stuff always happens. It is not always a good time to buy a house. Okay, I'll say it all the time. I love home ownership. I'm a big fan of it. We made up a lot of equity, or built up a lot of equity in our first house that we used to buy our second house, which has now built up a whole lot of equity. We used that equity to buy our first short-term rental, which it is now also building up equity. So we're building up equity here. We're building up equity in another house. Now, over time, that stuff's going to happen. Okay, you can't build up equity if you're renting your whole life. Okay, and we had a report. I think it was a couple months ago where we talked about like the home owners, people who own a home, have a 40 times higher net worth than those who rent a home. Home ownership's a very, very big deal. Okay. But there are moments where it doesn't make sense. One of the things, though, and I'm going to end it on this, because you're going to hear a lot of people, and I see them on YouTube all the time. And then I'll follow them. I'll look at some of their videos. They're saying, "Oh, this is a terrible time to buy because." And again, we're in the summer of 2023. We're on the back end of the pandemic. Home prices are coming up right now, but it's only because it's seasonal, and the home prices are getting ready to crash again. And the interest rates are terrible, and we're getting ready to have a recession, and this and that, and da-da-da-da. What I want you to do is, anytime you see somebody who says, this is an awful time to buy because everything's getting ready to crash, I want you to go into their videos, look at all their previous videos, which is what I did today. Somebody I've been seeing in my feed a lot saying that things are getting ready to crash. And this guy has like this face, and he's like this sullen face, like the whole world's getting ready to end. You look at all his videos that he's done over the last 12 months, and every one of those videos there's not been a single video that said things are actually pointed up a little bit. We do that. Last June, we told you things were starting to slow down. Last July and August, we told you, if you don't want to buy right now, I'm okay with that. Or if you don't want to sell, now's not a good time to sell. You're not going to get what you want for it. We shoot you straight. Okay. Where are we right now? Yes, it's a weird time because the interest rates are so high. It's a weird time because prices are so overinflated, and they are. And when you look at history, anytime the house has been this overinflated, there's been a correction, right? All these things have happened. There's one thing that has happened this time that has not happened before, okay? We have a massive, massive, massive lack of housing. It's all built on the back of what happened out of the 08-09 recession, where for basically 5 years, the economy just barely got along. And in that time frame, as Americans, we didn't build any houses. House building, new construction really struggled through the teens, that decade, okay? When you look at where we're supposed to be building homes every decade since the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and the zeros, all kept up. We're all flat, building enough houses to replace previous houses, or building enough houses to house everybody. We had a massive drop in the teens. Massive. We were doing a little bit better coming out 2020, and then after the pandemic, we had all the backlog of, you couldn't get lumber and this and that, whatever. Then everything slowed down again. Yes, we're building up a whole lot of stuff now. I live in Gwinnett County. You can't turn without finding somebody trying to cut down a tree and put up 25 townhouses where the tree was standing. It is what it is. But we're still behind. Like nationally, we're behind where we're supposed to be on number of houses. You look at months of supply, we're way behind on where we're supposed to be. It's going to take a long time before you have enough supply to where we're not in a seller's market. We haven't been in a seller's market in Atlanta since 2012, 2013. We've been in a severe seller's market for the last like 3 or 4 years, but it's been a seller's market since 2013 because of the lack of housing. And I don't know how long it's going to be before we get out of this. It's going to be 3 to 5 years, at least. It could be 10 years. Yes, you could get into a situation where the interest rates are crazy, people don't want to buy. The recession happens, people get laid off, people have crap ton of equity on their house, and people don't want to sell if they're not going to get money on their house because they owe so much on it. Okay? There's no market forces looking forward that show a major catastrophe in the market in these next 6 months or year. They're going to talk about now, we may not get in a recession now. I'll talk about a recession for the last year. We may not hit a recession. It might just be like smooth landing or whatever, because the Feds have slowly worked out this plan to slowly break the economy, which has worked. It's kind of sucked that it's taken this long and it's stalling a lot of things, but the economy on the whole is still okay. We're not in a recession. So you tell me. I mean, a lot of the signs show that, at some point we're going to get a correction. At some point you can't blow the balloon up anymore. And I completely agree. When's it going to happen? Because it can't happen if you have 2 months of inventory on the market. And that's where we are right now. It can't happen if you have 6 months of inventory on the market. We haven't had 6 months of inventory on the market since 2013. Okay? For that reason, right now is a great time to buy. Number one. Number two, when you buy, you don't just get money because of what goes up in value. There are tax advantages. Okay? The money you pay towards your mortgage pulls what you owe on the house down. Obviously, it's not dollar for dollar, you're paying interest. But that interest gets to be written off, okay, on your taxes, or it gets to be, it's a deduction on your taxes. Talk to your CPA about that, if you can itemize your deductions. But you're also paying down your house, okay? So over time, you're going to pay down your house, okay? When you're renting, your rent's going to just go up, 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 up. Mortgages are going to stay flat. It's a good hedge against inflation going forward, okay? I bought my house 6 years ago. My mortgage payment right now is probably a half to nearly 3 times less than it would be if I bought the same house right now, because I bought it at a much lower rate and I bought it when the prices were much cheaper, okay? So you want to get in that position too. The other thing is, and I'll leave you with this, as I look forward, one of the biggest issues that we have as I look forward, there's not enough pieces of the pie right now. If you want to buy a house, there's a much bigger challenge right now getting a house than there's been in the past several years. Okay, well, obviously, 21, 22 were crazy. Okay, the beginning part of 22. It's hard to find a house. But even, back in 18, 19, you could get a house if you tried. We're not back to those levels yet, okay? It's hard to find a house. It's hard to get into a house. It's hard to get on the equity train and go, okay? And with, you never know when, if the rates come back down, the economy looks strong, some of these big national companies are going to come in, they're going to come in and they're going to buy these houses back. And they're going to buy some houses and create rentals and things like that. And the average American is not going to be able to get in on the piece of the American pie. I think that sucks. So my advice is, if you can get a piece of the pie, grab it. There aren't going to be as many opportunities going forward as we've had historically. That's my personal opinion, okay? That's why, I've got my house, we've got our little rental property. I'm not looking to sell either one of those because there's no guarantee you're going to be able to replace them. And if you do, you're going to have to way overpay for it. So do everything I said before. If you don't have the money, don't do it. If you're not in a financial spot, don't do it. If you're going to move, don't do it. All that stuff. I'm serious. If you can't do it, if it doesn't make sense for you, please don't buy a house. A house is an awesome blessing. A house can be a complete pain in the butt if you're not ready for it. So please don't do it. But if you got your ducks in a row and you're ready to rock and roll, you got to jump in. You got to grab something. Can I guarantee the prices aren't going to go down? No. Can I look historically and say, in situations like this where we have such low inventory, we have a whole crap ton of buyers looking to buy, and everything looks up, Looking forward, do we see prices go down in that situation? No, we don't. That's where we are. Jump in, grab a piece of pie. That's my opinion. That's why I do what I do. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. But I want that to be on your radar going forward. At some point, you got to get that piece of pie. You got to get on the equity treadmill. You got to set yourself up for the future. You got to set yourself up for retirement. You got to set yourself up for your kids, for your grandkids, all that stuff. Home ownership is where it's at. There you go. That's my piece I've said. If you've got questions about that, you let me know. Love to talk about it. Emails below. Find me, Malone Home Team. This is Steve. We'll talk to you. Bye.